I'm here with Nick Cruse and Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And guess what? So there was this article in The Atlantic. It says, Democrats long goodbye to the working class. Now, we've been telling you this since 2015, that the Democrats have been turning their back on the working class, which is why Donald Trump got elected, which is why people wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, because they voted for Barack Obama twice and their lives got worse. That's why black and brown people wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton in places like Milwaukee. Okay? That's not me making it up. And so this was from 2016. This is Chuck Schumer. So the Democrats' long goodbye to the working class. I wouldn't call it a goodbye so much as a go fuck yourself. That's really what it is. Okay. So here's Chuck Schumer. This was in 2016, and this is he's going to tell you why.
For every blue-collar Democrat we will lose in Western PA, we will pick up 2, 3 moderate Republicans in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And you can repeat that in Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin.
See, I told you, it's a go fuck yourself. Yeah. It's not a goodbye. It's a go. They don't give a shit. For every blue-collar worker we live, we're going to pick up 2 Republicans. They're now aiming their campaign messages at moderate Republicans. That's who the Democrats are, because that's who they are. And they don't care. So where does that blue-collar voter go, Chuck? They got nowhere to go. So either they don't show up to vote, or they vote for the Republican. They take a chance on maybe a game show host, which is what they're doing. So this is from this article. It says Trump's victory was attributable above all to the shift of white working class voters, including many who had voted for Obama, into the Republican column. So that's what happened. In the country as a whole, the Republican advantage among white working class voters went up 6 points to a staggering 31-point margin.
That's bigger than the Stacey Abrams loss.
That's white college-educated voters went exactly the opposite direction, increasing the Democratic advantage among these voters by 6 points. So it went exactly the opposite way. So the Democrats, which are supposed to be the party of workers, is now the party of white-collar suburbanites. And the Democratic and the blue-collar workers are going to the Republicans. Why? Because the Democrats aren't offering them anything. Nothing.
And
absolutely.
Those college kids, when they don't get that loan forgiveness and get bumped down to working class, 3 delivery jobs, where did you see that?
The political scientists Justin Grimmer and William Marble concluded that racial resentment simply could not explain the shifts that occurred in the 2016 election. In fact, Trump netted fewer votes from white voters with high levels of racial resentment than Mitt Romney did.
Yeah.
Whoa. So it's just like anything. Once you actually find out the facts about it, it's exactly the opposite of what they've been telling you in the establishment media. Just like with Syria, just like with Russiagate, just like with everything. But I like how this political scientist had to use all his brilliant political science powers to somehow figure this out. What did he do to crack this one? Pull his pointy head out of his DC asshole for a full 5 seconds?
You gotta have a fancy degree to figure out.
From 2012 to 2020, the Democrats not only saw their support among white working class voters, those without college degrees, crater, they also saw their advantage among non-white working class voters fall by 18 frickin' points. You never hear this talked about on CNN or MSNBC or at TYT or at any other show like that. Anyway, and between 2016 and 2020 alone, the Democratic advantage among Hispanic voters declined by 16 points, overwhelmingly driven by a defection of working class voters. In contrast, Democrats' advantage among white college-educated voters improved by 16 points. Boy, it went down by 16 points among non-college-educated Hispanics, and it went up with white college-educated. The exact amount. Isn't that weird? This year, Democrats have chosen, and so what are Democrats doing to get back blue-collar voters? blue collar white voters, blue collar black and brown voter. Nothing. They don't even want them.
Yeah, they get 3 more for everyone they lose.
That's right.
Yeah.
This year they decided, you know what they ran on? They ran on abortion rights, gun control, and safeguarding democracy.
Rather than doing any of those things.
Right. They're not going to do any of them anyway. But those issues only appeal to white college-educated voters.
Yes.
These issues, the working class people, they want to focus on the economy and inflation and crime.
Why? Just because it affects them directly? Don't they know about democracy?
And they are skeptical about the Democratic Party's performance in all 3 realms. So that's good. Approach it like a corporate focus group. That's what that's how we got all those great Disney Star Wars movies, right? They focus grouped them. Hey, don't forget the other important strategy of openly funding the Trump candidates in the Republican Party that you claim are a danger to democracy. Just gamble with everyone's lives openly while making them fear for their lives.
It makes it more of a sweeter rush.
So let me bring in Nick. Would you agree that the Democrats are completely giving a finger to working class people, white, black, and brown, and that they're not running on anything that would attract those people to vote?
I am completely shocked that the working class has not been responsive to the January 6th show trials and the messaging that has been coming from the Democratic Party, where they say, you guys must vote for the Democratic Party or we won't be able to send more funds to Ukraine. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that this is not a compelling message for the working class. And you brought something I found interesting regarding Latino voters. I see a lot of people talk about this, and I've seen a lot of liberal pundits purposely get this wrong. There was a segment I saw, I think it was Morning Joe, where they were talking about the Latino vote, and they had some correspondent talking to Latino voters, and they like, well, we were talking to Latino voters, and the reason why they shifted from the Democratic Party because they don't believe the Democratic Party had their best intentions in mind. They using terms like Latinx and using woke ideology, even though they know that the Democratic Party do not have the best intentions at heart. And then when asked what they are focused on, they said they want a party that will address their material needs, not call them Latinx and other nonsense. Right. In fact, when they do that, and I can speak as well as people in the black community who don't fall for this, it seems like you're pondering. You actually lose support and you get an eye roll from a lot of these people. And this is what the Democratic Party has done. You can do some cringe stuff like that if you're providing for the working class and people can ignore it. Yeah. But if you're doing nothing but cringe ideology while propping up Wall Street and promoting endless war, it will 100% fall flat.
So now this article goes in to talk about how the Democratic Party's downturn all started with Hillary Clinton's campaign. And they talk about how Hillary Clinton was the one who decided to abandon economic and material gains for voters and go 100% ID politics because she was running against Bernie Sanders. And instead of running against his economic populism, she decided to go totally identity politics, right? During the primaries, facing a stiffer than expected challenge from Bernie Sanders, Clinton elected to counter his class-oriented populist economics by flanking him on the left with identity politics issues. For Clinton, turning to identity politics was a way of making Sanders seem out of touch. And then they give you this is her launching her identity politics campaign against Bernie Sanders.
This blew me away when you sent it.
So I'll read this to you. She said, "Not everything is about an economic theory, right?" Clinton said, kicking off a long interactive riff with the crowd at a union hall this afternoon. "If we broke up the big banks tomorrow, and I will if they deserve it," she says. She's going to break up the big banks if they deserve it. Jeez,
the jury's still out.
What other atrocities would they have to do to deserve it? Tweet a no-no word? What if the banks tweeted a no-no word? Would you break them up? How about if they take over hosting the Ellen show and not be nice? How about if they wear an offensive trick-or-treat costume? Would you break them up then? I know all the outright crimes they commit aren't reason enough just to go around breaking up banks willy-nilly. I'm not some naive child, Hillary. I'm just wondering, what would constitute deserving being broken up? Maybe saying, "Don't say gay"? So she says, if we broke up the big banks, and I will if they deserve it, if they pose a systemic risk, I will. Would that end racism, she says? What a cynical son of a bitch. No, the audience yells back. Clinton continued to list scenarios asking, would that end sexism? Would that end discrimination against the LGBT community? Would that make people feel more welcoming to immigrants overnight if they broke up the big bank, she says. You know, even if you take away all the other stuff people don't like about Hillary Clinton, this speech alone makes her the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. And that includes every other politician ever caught with a dead woman or a live boy. And by the way, it actually would go a long way to solving all those problems that she mentioned. Breaking up the banks would actually help black and brown people. It actually would. Aren't these the same twits that are always yapping about how everything is systemic or structural? Do they think that doesn't include the big banks? So this is when it all started for the Democrats. And once she accomplished screwing Bernie Sanders with the identity politics campaign, she made her second fateful decision, choosing to concentrate on Trump's character and all the ways he was out of step with the rising American electorate. Studies of her campaign ad spending reveal that the overwhelming majority of those ads had nothing to say about policy or even policy orientation, instead attacking Trump's character and his many divisive and offensive statements. Her campaign slogan, Stronger Together, was an implicit rebuke of Trump on these grounds. So that's what's wrong with the Democratic Party. They run on identity politics instead of running on making your life better. They just did it again. They had to run on saving democracy instead of saving your health care payments or saving your retirement or saving your living wage or saving your student debt or saving nothing. They can't run on that. Go ahead, Nick.
Jimmy, do you see the Jelena Maxwell clip? We covered it on Revolutionary Blackout, where Jelena was like, it's almost a privilege to care about inflation and gas prices. That has been the messaging that's been coming from the Democratic Party.
I must be the most privileged man in the world.
So here's what, this is what's wrong with the country, okay? Is that the establishment is okay with this.
That's good, because I work 3 jobs and I feel like I contribute.
You work 3 jobs?
3 jobs, yes.
Uniquely American, isn't it? I mean, that is fantastic that you're doing that.
No, that's horrible.
Boy,
that's horrible.
I'm sure a red wave would fix it.
It's horrible that a senior citizen has to work 3 jobs in the richest country in the world. That's horrible. And so do you want to know how we got here? How blue collar people are voting Republican? Because when we voted for a black guy with a Muslim name in the Democratic Party, he governed like Ronald Reagan. There hasn't been a lefty president in my fucking lifetime. Here's Barack Obama admitting that he's a right-wing Republican.
Believe that. The truth of the matter is that my policies are so mainstream that, you know, if I had said the same policies that I have back in the 1980s, I'd be considered a moderate Republican. I mean, you know.
He's bragging about being a Reagan Democrat. He's bragging about being a moderate Republican. That's what Reagan was.
I used to say that about him, but that's back when I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. I didn't understand why they're saying he was a commie. No, he's a Muslim communist.
But the Democrats will still say the Republicans are fascists, and the Republicans will still say the Democrats and Barack Obama are communists.
They'll both say Reagan was great, by the way.
But they'll both say Reagan was great. Yeah. Yes. Nick,
the easiest way to get a white liberal to block you on Twitter is to bring up the fact that Barack Obama tanked black wealth. Don't get me started on Obama. Obama hired Eric Holder as his attorney general, who was a plant from Wall Street. WikiLeaks revealed that he was handpicked by Wall Street, so he was sent in to protect the banks who illegally foreclosed on many black homeowners. Right. We have about 1/10 the wealth of white families. All our wealth is in our homes. Eric Holder and Barack Obama sided with Wall Street, and they did stuff like forced signatures. The actions of Wall Street in the way they legally foreclosed on people's home was straight up criminal. Barack Obama went in there, hired his boy, and they cleaned up and provided shield for Wall Street, which just tanked and destroyed our wealth. And we are feeling the effects of that to this day. That's Barack Obama.
But wait, didn't you at least like Eric Holder's, that movie he made with Vin Diesel, you know, Fast and Furious or something?
I don't get that joke.
Operation Fast and Furious?
Oh, I get it now. Okay. So we get a bright. So Nick, we want to say thanks to Nick Cruse for joining us. We got to get to Nick Brana now. Nick, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody check out the Revolutionary Blackout Network. They do great work over there. And they come at things at a class perspective, which is what the Democratic Party will not do, nor will any other YouTube show pretty much won't do it. It's just them, this show, and that's that.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Jimmy. So yeah, thank you for having me on. Make sure you check me out, Revolutionary Blackout. I focus on foreign policy, the class war, and state violence. So make sure you check us out. Thank you for having me on, Jimmy.
Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy shows. We're going to be in Austin, Texas, November 19th and 20th, November 26th in Burbank, California. Plus, in December, every Friday, we're going to be in Studio City at Two Roads Theater. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all our tickets and become a premium member while you're there to get all our videos unedited.